Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and it is a brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer? And joining me today is somebody who I had met at Heroes Con not too long ago. I met him in line when I was waiting to get Starbucks with a friend, and the line was very long because it was super busy at the con, and that is Helping Hand Cosplay. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, Benjamin. I hope you're doing well as can be.
Hey, that's awesome to hear, man. And I'm glad that I'm interviewing you. And, like I said, I met you in that line at Starbucks, and now we're here today. So before we get into today's interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as D always says, podcast link down below in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. So let's go ahead and get into this interview. So Walter, the first question that I ask each and every guest up here on Who's That Cosplayer is, what is your origin story? Every hero or villain has one. So tell everybody who you are.
Well, in this cosplay, which is my all-time favorite one, it's a steampunk standard cosplay. And steampunk is basically like a futuristic twist, but with a Victorian theme. Basically what people thought the year 1900 was going to be in the 1800s, basically. Think Wild Wild West, basically, with the big electronic spider and the little gears and like clock stuff that is futuristic, but it's also Victorian vibe to it.
Yeah, but like what I mean by like your origin story, like who are you as a person? Like how did you get into the world of cosplay? Like that type of question.
Oh, okay. Sure, fair enough. Well, it actually started. My origin dates all the way back to my childhood, because as a little kid, I was a kid. Every time it came Halloween, I would always save my allowance and go buy a Halloween costume just because I loved the costumes. I loved buying costumes. I mean, sure, you could do a Halloween, but I would buy it, like go to school wearing the costumes. I would be the only kid in my class who had a vampire, or had a grandmother who would make me a homemade Batman costume. But back when Batman '89 with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson came on the screen, I remember going to the movies as Batman with Michael Keaton in costume. So that's actually the origin. But my first costume at a convention setting was 2010, when I had my, as I call it, prototype Smith Lord cosplay, which is, no, it was not the best, but it was a start. It's a good way to test the waters of cosplay, see if I like it. And I guess I got the idea also because I remember going to Heroes Con back in 1997, and I remember seeing like a Batman and a Darth Vader cosplayers, and I said, man, I would like to do that for somebody. I mean, I love that feeling. I don't do this hobby for myself. I don't do it for personal gain or attention. I do it because I like to make other people this day, especially when they give compliments. Say, hey, nice costume. Hey, can I get a picture with you? Or when I'm in said characters, I sometimes do the voice, like when I do my Mario, which is one of my other favorite costumes. It's me, Mario. I mean, I literally get into the character. I mean, not only copy their likeness, but their voice, body language, and become the character, if you will.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, hence why my name or my cosplay like page is called Helping Hand Cosplay, because I love to offer helping hand when I can, because I believe we all should be equal and not be against, but for each other.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. And I feel like when it comes to cosplay, it's always good to help other people out, whether it be with their cosplay or, if they just need some help at a convention, because you never know. Sometimes you can get lost to those things depending on how big the convention is. Like Heroes Con is a very big convention, and for you to say that you went there in the 90s and, to still be a fan to this day and see like how the convention has changed over time. Like, how has that experience been? Because, I've only been going to conventions since 2016, but as somebody who went to that convention back in the 90s and then still going to that convention to this day, like, what's the difference from back then to now? And like, what are some of your favorite moments from going to that convention?
Well, I would say back then, if you wanted to get the tickets, you just had to go to like the web. Couldn't go on the website and get the tickets. You had to wait in those long lines. There was not a 3-day pass back then, but that's okay. And things were a little cheaper, but the line was still long. But at the same time, it was easier. I mean, back then everything was a little cheaper on the wallet and easier to buy. And my favorite experiences, of course, I love going to see my go-to vendors. They take, as you can see on my wall, I have a lot of comic book swag that I collected over the years since 1997, and
Yeah.
it took me a long time to get this room in the way I like it. It's my nerd room, or if you want to be political correct, the man cave. But it's definitely something I love. The artwork. I also love, like, if you find a really good vendor, you have a really good lifelong friendship with them. Sometimes you're lucky you get a deal and you can barter deals. Hey, I like that art, but is there any way you can go just a little lower, and maybe you can like buy 2 figures for the price of 1, or 3 pieces of art for 1 price. Just you gotta know how to like barter and be able to be, hey, say what you mean. Say, hey, I like your art because I really do like the art.
Yeah.
And big shout out to, am I allowed to give shout outs to my?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like, I'm always giving shout outs. Yeah, everybody's allowed to give a shout out.
Okay, cool. Well, okay, Chris McJunkin and John Harrison. I just want to say, give you guys a personal shout out. Thank you guys for so much, always for the artwork, and thank you so much for More Comics, who's a vendor from New York who comes out to HeroesCon every year. Always has the best comic books and a good deal. And Beardly Comics always is very nice and very kind to me. So major shout out to all these awesome vendors. I'm pretty sure there's more, but those are the ones that come to the top of my tongue. Or no, wait, Attorney Toys from Maryland. Found all of my Hot Wheels and action figures that I've been collecting over the years. So shout out to all those guys. You guys are awesome.
Who's that cosplayer?
It's Ruby Rose.
I love that. I love that. So, I want to piggyback and go back to, your cosplay name, Helping Hand Cosplays. And I want to know, like, has there ever been a moment where you had to help somebody at a convention? And if there was, how did you do it?
Of course. Well, I helped. I remember having this one kid that nobody would want a picture of him because they're afraid, oh, they don't want to get a picture with him because they thought he was different. But I have a nephew who is special needs, autistic, and I said, sure, you can get a picture. So I have my Sith costume with me, and I happen to have a backup lightsaber with me. So I said, here you go, man. You can hold on to this as my backup lightsaber. So we got an awesome picture, made his day, and 20 years later, he found me this year at HeroesCon, and his mom still thanked me so much for making his day because he had no one to get a picture, but yet he got to get a picture with a Star Wars character. He was like, oh man, that is so cool. A real life Sith Lord. I mean, that is just like, total nerddom right there. And I love being able to make this for other people, hence the name Helping Hand, because I love to help people out. Because that's really what I enjoy. And it gives me a good feeling being selfless like that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, man. I always say that you never know whose moment you are making at a convention. Back at Superstar Anime, there was this kid there, and he was dressed up in an Akatsuki robe, and I was cosplaying as Kisame, or Kisame, as some people like to say. And when I saw him, I was like, hey man, let's get a photo together. And his mom, she had tagged me in her story and pretty much said that I made his day. And it's moments like that that go such a long way when it comes to the world of cosplay. And again, like, your cosplay name, Helping Hands, because it's like you never know whose day you're going to make. Like, this is somebody's first time, and you don't want them to have a bad experience because you want them to continue coming back to the convention. So I think that's awesome that you did that for that kid. And he grew up, and him and his mom, it's like they still remember you because of what you did. So I definitely want to move along and talk about Star Wars, because when I met you, you were cosplaying as a Star Wars character, and you look very awesome. So I want to ask you now, which part is your favorite part?
Come again?
Which Star Wars part is your favorite part? Like part 1, 2, episode?
Well, I guess we're gonna. Normally people would say Empire, but I'm gonna go even further than before the Empire, A New Hope, or as it was known back then, Star Wars. And I gotta tell you, I love that movie. I mean, it's the movie that started it all. I mean, the Death Star chase from when Luke, Han, and Leia and Chewbacca and the droids are trying to escape the Death Star from the TIE fighters, but having those two like literally take on the TIE fighters themselves was like literally after Ben Kenobi's self-sacrifice when they had to leave the Death Star. And of course, I love the dynamic between the two characters. I mean, Han, who's always is basically trying to prove himself, and then Luke, who is basically like his father, a very awesome starfighter, which we don't know his father's Vader at the time. But you do see the chemistry between the two characters, between Luke and Han, where they are polar opposite, but yet they had the same admiration for adventure. One's the Force, they take it differently. But I love A New Hope. I mean, the Force is strong with this one is one of my all-time favorite quotes in the whole franchise. Or, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. I mean, I love A New Hope. I mean, Empire's good, but A New Hope started everything. I mean, you got to think about it. Yes, it was the middle chapter, but A New Hope, without the success of Episode 4, it would not have spawned so many sequels, spin-offs, cartoons, action figures, comic books, and so forth.
Yep, I 100% agree with you. And it's such a good movie, especially the way that it ends and everything. It's just, when it comes to Star Wars, like, there's just so many amazing stories that come with the series. And, you know, even to this day, with like all of the new stuff that's coming out, like the spin-offs and the video games and whatnot, it's like, I'm very thankful that this series is still going strong after so long. And, you know, it's creating so many new fans. And I mean, like, even when, you know, we're older, it's like you'll still keep on having new fans come to the series just because of how great the series is. So I want to ask you now, if you were offered the opportunity to be a Jedi or a Sith, which one would you choose and why?
Well, I would have to say Sith, because realistically, a Sith believes in the fact that they draw on their passion for their strength, but they also rely on the realistic sense. Because the Jedi, they claim not to have attachments, but yet they don't follow their own orthodox. But Sith, they fall all the way. It's like philosophy, if you will.
Yeah. The
full view and the half view, if you will. Like the Sith rely on the full view of everything, both spectrum, the light and the dark, if you think about it. And the Jedi only follow the one side. When they say, don't follow the Sith side, it's corruption. But they go against their own dogma when they say, don't fear, but yet they fear change. But change is not a bad thing. Sometimes it could be a good thing. It's kind of like when you're a little kid, you're told, eat your broccoli, you'll love it. And of course, you're going to say, no, but hey, at my age, I love broccoli. I could live off of broccoli the rest of my life. I'm glad I tried something new. Or I used to eat nothing but cheeseburgers and said, nope, I'm never going to eat anything else. But then I got older. Now I like to open my horizon, try new things.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like that. I would pick the Sith.
Okay. All right. I mean, you know, your boy, the number one hero. Of course, I'm rolling with the Jedi. So we're going to have that battle on the bridge. And, you know, somebody's going to come up on top. And you guys are going to have to see that in the future when me and Helping Hand have that fight. So we are here at the end of the interview. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me up here. Let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you can find me on... Well, you can find me on Facebook on the and just type in the search engine Helping Hand Cosplay. Go give it a like, a follow, and would love to have any comments if you see any of my costumes you like and you say any inputs, a nice costume, or hey, that's spot on. They're always welcome. So come to check out my page and give a like and a follow.
Awesome. Y'all make sure that y'all give him a follow, and you already know where you can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks at KingBenji_Banks on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. And like I always say, keep that pinky up, stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.